A fragile truce announced by the American President Donald Trump hangs in balance. Israel has vowed retaliation after claiming a missile strike by Iran, a claim that has been squarely refuted by Tehran. Now, these are the images of destruction in southern Israel's largest city. The Israeli authorities claim that at least about 4 people were killed after an Iranian ballistic missile struck what Israelis claim is a residential building in Beersheba. They said that Iran launched missiles into Israel's airspace more than 2 hours after the ceasefire was supposed to take effect. The Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz has ordered the military to carry out high-intensity operations against targets in Tehran, calling it a violation of the ceasefire. The army has warned that the danger persists despite a truce with Iran.
I want to stress that at this stage there is no change to the Home Front Command instructions. The instructions must be obeyed. The danger persists. The entire IDF, in commands and branches, will continue to maintain high levels of readiness and alertness.
Now, Iran, on the other hand, has denied striking the State of Israel post-ceasefire. The Armed Forces General Staff has said that no missiles were launched towards the Israelis after the ceasefire came into effect. The Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi also implied that the strikes were launched just before the 7:30 GMT deadline that was announced by Donald Trump. Now, the American President Donald Trump, on the other hand, has appealed for calm. He is assured that Israel will not attack Iran. On being asked about what Israel has claimed was a ceasefire violation, Trump said that he is unhappy, especially with Israel.
But I'm not happy that Israel's going out now. There was one rocket that I guess was fired overboard. It was after the time limit and it missed its target. And now Israel's going out. These guys got to calm down. Ridiculous. I didn't like plenty of things I saw yesterday. I didn't like the fact that Israel unloaded right after we made the deal. They didn't have to unload. And I didn't like the fact that the retaliation was very strong. But in all fairness, Israel unloaded a lot. And now I hear Israel just went out because they felt it was violated by one rocket that didn't land anywhere. That's not what we want, I'll tell you. And I'm telling you, I'm not happy about that, Israel, either.
Now remember, Trump made the ceasefire announcement in a post on Truth Social. The post came at about 10 p.m. GMT, which was 6 p.m. in Washington. Now, Trump said that the complete and total ceasefire would come into effect in approximately about 6 hours, setting a deadline of around 4 a.m. Greenwich Mean Time. And as per Donald Trump, the 6-hour window was for Israel and Iran to wind down and to complete their in-progress final missions. Now, Trump claimed that once the ceasefire takes effect, that Iran would unilaterally halt all operations, and so would the State of Israel. All right, now joining us on the broadcast, we've got Mr. Yusuf Jalali, who's a journalist. He's joining us live from Tehran at the moment. Mr. Jalali, thank you very much indeed for joining us here on WION. Now, give us a sense of what is unfolding at this moment between Tehran and Israel. There is a very fragile ceasefire. Is the ceasefire holding at the moment, and what is the situation in Iran?
Well, of course, the ceasefire took effect around 7:30 a.m. local time in Iran. That's 4 a.m. GMT, and so far both sides have been accusing each other of breaching the ceasefire after the deadline, and then Iran says that it did not launch that rocket, even that single rocket, toward the Israeli airspace. But despite that, we see that the Israelis have been insisting that the Iranians were the ones who breached the ceasefire, then launching some attacks targeting some cities in north of Iran, and targeting a radar system in north of Iran, the city of Bab al-Sar. That's what we heard recently. Minutes ago, this news surfaced. Earlier, we heard that the Israeli attacks after the ceasefire targeted some areas, empty areas, but now we're hearing that they targeted a radar system in the city of Bab al-Sar in north of Iran. Of course, this was a moment of an occasion for celebration for the Islamic Republic. Following the announcement, thousands across the country took to the streets, and now Iran keeps inviting people to take to the streets and celebrate this moment. Of course, for Iran, It's been a show of force. Iran
Right.
says that it is by no means a forced ceasefire. And then Iran was actually ended this war on its own terms by launching those final rockets towards Israel prior to the deadline.
Right. Now, this ceasefire was announced by Donald Trump after the United States of America directly got involved and bombed the Iranian nuclear facilities. Do we at this point of time know as to what has become of that enriched uranium that is in the possession of the Iranians, where it was enriched to about 60% purity? And have we heard anything about from the Iranian leadership as to what the future of Iran's nuclear program is likely to be?
Well, of course, Donald Trump said that they obliterated or dismantled the Iranian nuclear system or the Iranian nuclear capabilities, but that's not what Iran thinks. Iran thinks that the country's nuclear program is up and running. They say that just today, Mr. Kamalvandi, the head, or the deputy head rather, of the Atomic Energy Organization of Iran, he appeared on national television and said and assured the public that the country's nuclear program is up and running. He said that the country will continue to develop and expand its nuclear capabilities. And then Iran takes issue with Donald Trump in the sense that the country says that in order for the United States or any other country to destroy or totally dismantle the country's nuclear program, they have to target two major things. The first and foremost is the stockpile. As you mentioned, Iran has 400 kilos of 60% enriched uranium. That's what the IAEA has cautioned against, saying that this stockpile can turn into 9 or 10 nuclear weapons, atomic weapons, of course. But Iran says it has this stockpile intact, and it has already transferred it to a safe and secure place, undisclosed new enrichment facility. And the second most important thing to consider is actually the infrastructure, the buildings, the facilities, the equipment, and the centrifuges. Iran has 22,000 centrifuges spinning to enrich uranium to a high grade, and then 7,000 of which are considered IR6. That's the latest, the most advanced generation of centrifuges Iran has built on its own inside the country. So these two things, the stockpile and the centrifuges, are still there based on claims made by the Iranian officials. Right. So Iran, to a very large extent, has been able to maintain and preserve its nuclear capabilities.
Right. Now, Mr. Jalali, there is a sentiment within some quarters amongst the Palestinians that Iran could have tied in for a ceasefire in the Gaza Strip as well. Is this a sort of a missed opportunity on the part of the Iranians that nothing has in fact been done with respect to the war in the Gaza Strip? Is this purely a standalone ceasefire agreement that now we have between Iran and Israel?
Of course, the ceasefire covers only the Iran-Israel conflict. It does not have anything to do with the Gaza. Of course, Iran has shown in the past that it cares about the lives of the people in Gaza. It has showed its solidarity. It has shown its support for the people of Gaza in the past, and people still take the streets in support of Gaza, the people of Gaza. But of course, this specific ceasefire is trying to focus on resolving the conflict between Iran and Israel. Iran now tries to focus on perhaps halting crossfire strikes and regrouping after those Israeli strikes targeted and damaged a significant part of its military infrastructure.
All right, we'll have to leave it there. Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Jalali, for joining us with all those details there.